Campaign in Tanzania's semi-autonomous state of Zanzibar. The result could trigger another potentially violent fallout between the governing party and the opposition following the disputed election 5 years ago. Now, most ordinary islanders actually hit hard by a decline in tourism due to the spread of COVID-19, want economic change. Here is Rebecca Muriru Mulure with the details.
Zanzibar and mainland Tanzania are due to hold elections for president, lawmakers and local governments on Wednesday, October 28th. Zanzibar has previously been rocked by post-election violence in 2001, resulting in the death of more than 35 people. Both parties have now held their final rallies at a recent gathering for the ruling party Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM. Its flag bearer, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, appealed for peace.
We must continue to build on our unity and solidarity of our people. Let us not allow any space for discrimination of any kind in Zanzibar, be it discrimination based on our origins, regardless if you're from Pemba or Unguja. We must fight all types of discrimination and build the oneness of our country.
An opposition Act Wazalendo Party campaign manager said on Sunday, October 25th, that he had been seized and threatened by armed men, while a parliamentary candidate was still missing. Opposition parties have said in the lead-up to the election, their candidates' campaigns have been disrupted on several locations, while dozens of parliamentary candidates were disqualified.
Since 1995, there was no free and fair election in Zanzibar. And this time, 2020, is same like there was no free and fair election, because if we're starting on a voter registration book, many members from ACT, from opposition, were removed. This means that the government is not needing the free and fair election. They removed our people because they need to cheapen. So I don't think that there is fair and fair election.
The government has previously denied clamping down on dissent.
There is disquiet. There is a heavy contingent of, anti-riot police and military that has been deployed to Zanzibar, especially Pemba. And so one thing that I know is that there is tension. So I hope that things go well, but from the look of things is that there is tension that is building up.
The volatile poll is being held against the backdrop of economic strain caused by the pandemic. In 2018, the government reported that tourism accounted for 27% of GDP, 80% of foreign revenue, and provided the highest private sector employment with 72,000 jobs. The Indian Ocean Archipelago's private and informal sector hope that a peace vote will bring visitors back to the empty streets of places like Stone Town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
The aircraft is open. We're welcoming people to come and visiting because we get some benefit from them, and our business depends on the tourism industry, so we're glad that if after election there are no fighting, we'll be happy that we'll have some tourists to continue our business. We'll be glad, happy.
Zanzibar formed a union with mainland Tanzania in 1964. Rebecca Mulure, KTN News.
Now, so more than 29 million registered voters are today casting their vote to decide who leads Tanzania as president for the next 5 years. Now, while Tanzania has seen cases of post-election violence in the past, reports of pre-election violence and hate speech this time round have heightened tensions between different sections of the political divides. Human rights groups, the opposition and civil society claim the vote is unfair. KTN's Brian Obuya reports.
Tanzanians go to the polls Wednesday with President John Pombe Magufuli expected to win re-election, even with a spirited challenge from Tundu Lissu and serious accusations from rights groups that the president suppresses individual freedoms and those with a dissenting voice. The 60-year-old Magufuli took office in November 2015 and is seeking a final term based on his economic record. And on the eve of the election, ACT Wazalendo, a major opposition party in Tanzania, is accusing police of shooting dead 7 people amid unrest over alleged fraud ahead of the election. The party says that police in the semi-autonomous island region arrested its Zanzibar presidential candidate Maalim Seif Sharif Hamad police have confirmed the arrest without giving details. The opposition claimed that law enforcers opened fire on citizens Monday evening. More than 100 people have been arrested. The presidential election in the small East African country has attracted at least a dozen candidates. They're set to go head-to-head against John Pombe Magufuli of the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi, a party that, together with its predecessor TANU, has been wielding power for decades.
Hiyo ndiyo Tanzania ya Magufuli ninayoitaka. Tanzania ya viwanda kwa ajili ya kuendeleza Watanzania wote.
Back in January, President John Pombe Magufuli announced that the October vote would be democratic, free and fair. Human rights groups and civil society have accused Magufuli of having an odd way of keeping that promise. He has banned local groups from monitoring the election. The principal and constant target of harassment in Tanzania has been Tundu Lissu, the main opposition candidate who just returned from a self-imposed exile in Belgium. Lissu took refuge in Belgium after being shot 16 times in 2017 outside his home in the capital, Dodoma. With a bullet still lodged near his spine, the man has campaigned, drawing thousands to his rallies. In early October, it banned Mr. Lissu from campaigning for a week. The government of Tanzania has been accused of ignoring the rule of law in the run-up to the upcoming election.
The police were very courteous, very professional, but lately the atmosphere has changed rather dramatically. I think as the political temperatures arising from our campaign have gone up, the regime is getting scared, and therefore they're pulling out all the stops, as it were.
In Tanzania, the ruling party CCM has been running the show uninterrupted since 1977. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 4 p.m. Is it going to be Tundu Lissu, or are Tanzanians giving Magufuli another 5 years? Brian Obuya, KTN News.
So now there has been quite some activity on Twitter with regards to Tanzania. I'd want us to take a look at some of them and some of the tweets that were streaming in as of yesterday before Tanzanians were before they headed to the polls this morning. And let's begin with the tweet from the former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She says the report of violence and detention in Tanzania are alarming and deeply distressing. She says that she's wishing for strength for Mujai leader and MP Art Upendo Peneza in the face of growing threats, and I stand in solidarity with all Tanzanians calling for a free, fair and peaceful election. So that is what the former Liberian President Ellen Sirleaf had to say. And also from the Twitter management, this is what they had to say after they realized that there was a bit of some internet shutdown as of yesterday, and the Twitter public policy says ahead of today's election in Tanzania, we are seeing some blocking and throttling of Twitter. Hashtag Tanzania decides 2020. The Twitter public policy goes ahead to say that internet shutdowns are hugely harmful and violate basic human rights and the principles of the hashtag open internet, hashtag keep it on, with that emoji right there of Wi-Fi. And then the last one is from the United Nations Human Rights Group that says, we have been following with concern the shrinking of democratic space in hashtag Tanzania, with worrying reports of intimidation, harassment, arbitrary arrest and physical attacks against political opponents, journalists, women's rights defenders,